Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a dynamic that is, honestly, incredibly common, deeply painful, and almost always misunderstood. We're talking about why toxic people always seem to zero in on the absolute kindest people in the room.
Let's just get right into it. If you are a kind person, a patient person, someone who always gives people the benefit of the doubt and tries to see the good in everyone, then this explainer was made specifically for you.
Because right now, there is likely someone in your life who is not loving your kindness. They are feeding on it. And today we are going to show you exactly how they found you, why they chose you, and what they are taking from you every single day that you stay. And look, this isn't about blaming you at all. It's about empowering you with the exact blueprint of how this whole thing works.
Section 1. The deliberate target.
You know, the biggest misconception kind people have is that they just kind of happen to run into toxic people by accident, like it's just bad luck. But no, toxic people do not stumble into these relationships. They hunt, deliberately. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the invisible calculation taking place. While you're sitting there thinking, oh, how can I help? Let me assume the best. The toxic person is looking right at you and asking, how far can I push? Where's the vulnerability here? Understanding that fundamental difference in mindset, that is your absolutely crucial first step to making sure you're never targeted again.
Moving to Section 2, the forgiveness vulnerability.
So kind people have this beautiful, ingrained need to see the good in others. But let's think about how that gets used against you. What happens when a friend repeatedly cancels plans with you? A toxic person knows your first instinct isn't to just walk away. It's to try and understand, right? So this friend keeps canceling on you, but, and here's the kicker, they always show up with this incredibly sympathetic, almost tragic reason. And suddenly you feel guilty for even being upset in the first place. You literally end up comforting the person who just totally disrespected your time.
They rely on this dynamic completely. Every single time they cross a line, they're banking on the fact that you will construct a reason to forgive them. They don't even have to do the work. Over time, your forgiveness isn't just happily accepted by them, it becomes fully expected. It's basically built into their entire relational strategy with you.
Which brings us to Section 3. Erasing your boundaries.
It's a fact that kind people have a really profound difficulty saying no without feeling just a massive tidal wave of guilt. Imagine a coworker who keeps adding little tasks to your plate. It always starts as a tiny favor, right? Just slightly uncomfortable to refuse. But the moment you hesitate, they hit you with visible disappointment. You know the look, a heavy sigh, the sad puppy dog eyes. The guilt kicks in, you comply, and just like that, your boundary has moved. They didn't force you. They just applied a tiny bit of pressure and disappointment until the door practically opened on its own, and boom, suddenly you are doing their job for them.
Section 4. Weaponized responsibility and fear.
You see, kind people take personal responsibility very seriously, and toxic people weaponize this through a little trick we call the toxic flip. Let's say your partner makes a glaring mistake or starts a completely unnecessary argument. What actually happens? They spin it. They twist and turn every single detail until they trace it all back to something you did or didn't do or, I don't know, the tone of voice you used 3 days ago. And because you believe in personal accountability, you accept their framing. You end up apologizing for something they actually did, and you spend an enormous amount of energy trying to fix yourself for problems you never even caused.
And deeply intertwined with that sense of responsibility is a massive fear of causing harm. For a kind person, not hurting others is practically their entire identity. Toxic people know this, and they absolutely use your fear of hurting them as a literal leash.
Seriously, have you ever wondered why the exit door is so hard to use? I mean, the exit is right there. Let's say you finally gather the courage to try and end a toxic friendship. The second you start to pull away, the other person responds with dramatic, highly visible pain. They start crying. They act completely devastated. And because you are a fundamentally kind person, you just cannot walk away from someone who is crying. So what do? You stop pulling away. You drop your boundaries entirely, and you go right back to comforting them and managing their feelings instead of leaving.
All right, Section 5. The perfect cover story.
In these dynamics, you essentially act as a PR shield. Think about it. Everyone in your social circle probably thinks this toxic person is totally fine, maybe even charming. And why is that? It's because you are quietly absorbing 95% of the collateral damage all by yourself. You're covering for them, you're explaining away their bad moods, and you're working extremely hard to make the relationship look functional to the outside world. The toxic person contributes literally nothing to that image except just being there. and their presence is only acceptable because you are working overtime, holding the entire universe together around them.
Section 6. Protecting your value.
Look, protecting your kindness from people who exploit it is an act of survival. It's not selfish. Here is the hard truth we all need to face. Your kindness is real, it is immensely valuable, and right now it is being stolen by someone who produces absolutely nothing in return. Being kind is definitely not the problem here. The world desperately needs your kindness. The problem is giving it to someone who has repeatedly shown you they will only ever use it against you. The world needs kind people, it just needs them to be a little harder to steal from.
I want to leave you with this final thought, and really let these words truly sink in. Your kindness is one of the most valuable things about you, but it was never meant to be someone else's resource. The moment you decide your kindness belongs to people who deserve it and not to people who simply know how to take it, your entire life will change.